And we're up. All right. Last time on A Crown of Cold Iron, our party of intrepid heroes is back and having really one of the first sort of calm, for a given value of calm, periods in like 6 to 8 months. You resolved a whole bunch of things. You defeated Lambton. Auric is the Raven King. Something something. Brought Mort back from Fairy. Lexi is discovering that her. Well, you don't really know exactly what's happening, but there is some kind of mystery unfolding around who Lou is, which might be a more complicated answer than you had always imagined. And that's kind of where we left off. We're still in this sort of ambiguous, wibbly wobbly, timey wimey period of about 3 to 6 months. So, 3 or 4 things have happened so far. What is still on the agenda? What are things what are threads you want to keep pulling on? I know the location of Alan Blake has been mentioned. The identity of the strange figure from Lady Bryn's memories. Because you all started to go talk to Tyler and I think got distracted. I think you ended up going to the Raven Palace with Mort instead. So, Alan Blake, Summer Guy, you mentioned something about potentially trying to get some artifacts uncursed and to sell some of the historical artifacts that you recovered from the Raven Palace. So who's on first? What's on second?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think maybe pulling the Tyler thread.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure where to go on Blake. And Cyrus has no interest in exploring Fairy to find him. So if that's where he thinks Blake has ended up, it's kind of like, well, you're on your own for right now then.
No longer our problem.
Good luck, bud. All right, so what was at the top of the list?
Pulling on the Tyler thread.
All right. So Banner and Norton's is recuperating. It's only been, I think, at this point, it's maybe been 4 to 6 weeks since the explosive collapse of the extra-dimensional fighting ring. The exterior of Banner and Norton's was largely unaffected, but you know that the fighting ring, which was the bulk of their business, was shut down. But you all are easily able to identify a time to go catch up with Tyler. Is everybody going together?
I'm going.
Sure.
All
Get
right.
your ride in the pokey.
So
you can take Pokey. I'm taking my jacket. Or wait, is that only one time per day?
I want to say it's once per day.
Never mind. I'll ride in Pokey.
I'll say I surely don't think I gave you like unlimited or even like multiple times a day teleportation.
What about for strictly narrative purposes?
I mean, I think for narrative purposes, we'll assume that you could get back somehow.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're in wibbly wobbly time here. So you all make your way to Banner and Norton's through your assorted means. I guess that means Cyrus and Lexi sort of pile in together. And the stalwart Pokey gets you there. Auric, you just find a street light, place your hand on it, and you disappear with a flash of sort of buzzing fluorescence dissolving into the cityscape, and then you reform and step out of a very dented light post in the parking lot there. It looks like it's taken some hits.
I put my fist into one of the dents just to compare sizes.
Massive. It's massive. You would actually think it had been hit by a car if you didn't know what you know. And actually, there was a weird like grinding sensation before it spat you out at the end. Seems like the magic doesn't like busted up streetlights.
Do I know the mending spell? Hang on.
That does seem like a good one for you to know.
How do I not press the digitation? Sure, but that won't work here. Next time I get a cantrip, I'm learning mending.
With your penchant for destruction, it would not be a bad idea.
I didn't do it.
So, you all are able to arrive safely. What time of day do you think you'd be heading that way?
I don't know.
Probably when it's not too busy, right? If we want to actually have a conversation.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So maybe we'll just say it's like mid-morning, not too early.
Yeah.
So there are a few more cars than you would expect. You know, you've especially Lexi would know, like at 10 o'clock in the morning, there should not be anyone there. Especially like, you know, like Lou's has a little bit of a lunch crowd. Banner and Norton's does not.
Right.
The-
You're not a lunch place.
No. They really lean heavy on the bar end of the bar and grill.
Yeah. They serve food because it's the law.
Yes. So yeah, there's a surprising amount of vehicles. You see a disproportionate spread towards like workmen's vehicles, sort of the archetypal big white pickups, big white, like you know those mega like plumber vans.
Yes.
And you notice immediately there is a very very faint layer of like fey compulsion magic, almost in like a dome over the space. It doesn't seem immediately hostile, and it doesn't seem to affect any of you all. An important question, Auric. Are you rocking the human or the dragonborn today?
Um, well, I was gonna say human is a bit less conspicuous, but I did just go through a light post.
That's
Yeah,
true.
might be a little too late for inconspicuous.
I think I've been rocking human for a while, so I'm switching back to Dragonborn.
So I think that's your first indication of what's happening. So there's like some workers out here. You can see materials like you know planks and fasteners and metal rods and what just looks like elements of architecture in progress. And you know there's a couple guys out there standing by the truck talking about going and picking up such and such or calling you know such and such because we need an electrician. They don't even blink as your silver and gold dragonborn self steps out of a lamppost, not but like 10 feet away from them. They just kind of look like if anyone had walked up. They're just like, "Well," and then they just go back to talking.
All right.
Clearly dealing with wizards.
Um, yeah, so you all head inside.
Sounds good.
All right. You pass in. The upper floor looks about as you have seen it. It is surprisingly clean, more so than usual. Probably a result of slightly reduced rowdiness because of the lack of the fight club downstairs. And in fact, some of the space has been turned into like what's sort of like an architectural nerve center. There seems to be various layers of blueprints that have been like unfurled on a table. There's like random heavy stuff they found in the back, like a 6 pack of fickle spirits is holding down one corner. And there's what looks like a human engineer, sort of darker complexion, dark hair, but it's sort of rapidly escaping him. Some sort of a weird contrast. Has kind of like a very even with darker skin, you can see there's a lot of sun weathering. Has kind of a more sort of functional muscle of a worker build, but also has some very thick glasses. And he's sort of talking with what you recognize to be Maine, as they sort of look over these blueprints. And they seem very like enraptured in what they're doing and don't notice you all come in.
Do we see Tyler or Banner?
You actually don't see Tyler or Banner. You do. You do see Todd, like steps out of the kitchen, which is like in an arc across the back, where you know that there's like bathrooms, storage rooms, and then the basement going down. Comes from back there with like a box of something to restock the bar. And it's like, hey guys, and it's just very excited to see you all. And finally, Maine sort of kicks in and turns and looks and goes, "Oh, you're here." Tyler said that he would wait for you all downstairs.
Oh, cool.
Cool.
Cool, thanks.
Well, there goes the element of surprise. I was going to sit down and steal Maine's drink.
As you all head towards the back, there's an awkward moment as you pass Charl in the doorway. The sort of taller woman who is sort of the de facto leader of the Weirwood currently. And she's sort of coming the other way, carrying some disproportionately heavy crate of something. But seems to be sort of part of the operation here. And she kind of gives you all like a you can see that, not necessarily see, you can feel it. There is sort of a magical distortion as you get closer to the stairwell down, sort of concealed and off in that storage room. It feels, how do I put it? When you came here before, until everything went down, the space was very stable. It was almost to the point where you would maybe not even notice it unless you were someone kind of in the know. This is more like what you experienced at the Kent building in Archie's office. It's still a little sort of elastic. Reality is not quite set into place yet here. But you also see a steady stream of workers coming and going. There's a lot of like equipment has been put at like the top of the stairs here for people to have easy access. And the stairs down now seem to lead deeper than just the little basement storage room that they used to. It looks like it is reconnected to some kind of extra dimensional space.
Hmm. Hmm.
Y'all want to go down, or anything you want to do before you go down?
I'm gonna examine the spell a little bit.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So a lot of the spell is sort of, how do I put it? You're looking at like an exterior feature, and the guts of it are downstairs, but you can grasp a little bit of it. You get the impression that this is what one of Maine's extra dimensional spaces looks like before it's finished. Because we've talked before that neither Maine nor Banner are big enough Fae to carve out a huge demand like this. The experience you've had in other places has often either been amplified through something, like the rod and the tome seem to allow Blake to either channel or to somehow blur reality a little bit. Or it's been cases where a combination of like an archfey at work plus a lot of lesser fey kind of helping to anchor it, like you saw in the Cawthorn Allen Taryn Smith building. So give me an Arcana check. Let's see how much Auric can parse out.
A decent amount, I think.
Oh, you're going to say it out loud because I don't have it pulled up.
I got a 17.
All right, 17. With a 17. Yeah, it seems like there is a combination here. Maine is a spellcaster much like you. She's kind of in the sorcerer category. Maybe just a touch of warlock. Maybe not in a formal way, but almost like an arcane scavenger. But there's also a touch of something that looks almost more like wizardry than sorcery. It's more formulaic, brick by brick. It's anchored with enchantments, with formulas, with sort of like powerful physical tokens. And so you kind of get the feel like this is in progress. You imagine the space downstairs is perhaps not as large as it was yet, or maybe not as well defined. You'd also guess that Maine is not able to leave right now. She has to sort of stay here and help sort of basically concentrate on this spell until it locks in place.
Got it.
The equivalent might be something like a Magnificent Mansion spell, but one that is being artificially accelerated to create something permanent.
Gotcha. I guess it's safe enough. Well, let's head down.
Okay. On the stars we go.
I used Magnificent Mansion as an example, but I don't actually remember. No, Magnificent Mansion is not one of the spells that you can repeatedly cast to make it permanent. The equivalent might be closer to something like... Oh well, we'll look it up later. There is a spell somewhere.
I feel like it's like somebody's tower or something.
Yeah, instant fortress is an item. Galder's Tower.
Balder?
Galder?
Oh, Galder.
Yeah, you can create a permanent tower by casting the spell in the same location with the same configuration every day for 1 year. Normally those spells take a long time, but that's also if you're just using it over and over. Whereas this is sort of what has drawn attention to Maine to begin with is that she seems to have some skill with using tools and rituals and other kinds of magic to cheat the rules just a little bit. Someone of Lambton's class could, like, pop an extra floor onto a building, no problem. Make it look like whatever he wants, and it would last as long as he wanted. But Maine is not metaphysically much bigger than you. Maybe actually less than you at this point. So there's a lot of, like, specialty knowledge happening here. She probably could not take you in a straight fight, but she can do this and you can't.
Right.
All right. Y'all ready to go down?
Guess so.
All right. So you are able to descend the stairs. The physical material of the stairs is the same, but there's temporary lighting. And actually, as you get to the point where the mortal realm and the demand kind of blur, there is a tangible distortion, and you would guess that probably, like, you can't run electrical wire across a barrier like that until it is stable. So there's, like, LED strips have been sort of run, not like a cool backlighting way, just functional lighting. As soon as you cross the threshold, you can hear the sounds of construction. You hear power tools, you hear hammering and thudding and yelling, and the space opens up before you, and the center of it almost looks like how you remember. They have rebuilt a large part of the raised stage in the center, the sort of towering cage that went around it. And you can see parts of the scaffolding and stands are being rebuilt. But at the same time, the edges of the room just sort of, like, trail off. It's almost like the artist didn't get to finish it. They're using minimum line strokes to convey a sense of space that is not actually there yet. But knowing to look for it, you can actually watch as it fills in, and the space slowly becomes just a little bit more real. Again, also noteworthy, mostly it just looks like mundane workers in here, just human folks, who don't seem at all to be bothered by whatever is happening around them.
Right.
So you spot Tyler and Banner are helping out with one of the crews, sort of going back and forth, sometimes helping a little, sometimes more sort of like, being the client and pointing out, like, this or this. At one point you see them, like, sort of butt heads a little bit, arguing about some feature or other. But they both, with their very keen senses, notice you all not too far after you get into the room. Banner lets out a booming laugh and is like, Welcome back! I don't know if that's what he sounded like, but we're rolling with it.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Banner and Vertisnicken are, like, right in that same register, and I don't really remember which is which. And Tyler smiles and waves at you all as you come over. So, Lexi, what's the... said you wanted to talk about something?
Now my brain has blanked. Congratulations, Rachel.
We wanted to talk about the little green man. Not little green man.
The little green man?
The guy
Cyrus
from
will jump
Prince Memories.
The guy from Bryn's Memories.
Oh, God. I was like,
I don't know why I decided to call him the Little Green
I know.
Man.
I was just watching like a little cartoon kazoo from the Flintstones, like pop up and like spin around Rachel's head, and I was like, nope, that's not going to get her there.
Nope.
nope. Okay. From Lady Brand's Memories. And that was before we went into Faye, right?
Yes.
That's what I thought. Okay.
So, high speed recap.
Yeah, thank you, because I just had admin council, so
No worries. Been there.
been there, done that.
So, high speed recap. Something happened a couple of months before you all got together. There was some sort of incident where some children were going missing. And Lady Bryn and a couple of other folks, including Leon, kind of got tangled up in resolving the issue. They discovered that there was some kind of like tortured Fey being who had been somehow granted entrance into the world, who was drawing the children to herself. They managed to thwart it, but in the process of thwarting it, they drew the attention of the Kate C. And it seemed like the Kate C was going to harm them in some way or do something. And then a strange figure appeared in her memories. And her memories were sort of fractured. You actually had to prod just to pull this much out. But whoever this was seemed to be able to reach out and just sort of like backhand the Kate C out of the area, perhaps out of the human realm entirely, but a very powerful figure. And you've heard rumors that someone vaguely matching this description, looking like a slightly older human man with kind of graying hair, has been showing up in some of the fighting rings. And you're forgiven for not remembering because that was like last May or something.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Because I was thinking about this. I was like, that was a long time ago.
maybe longer than that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you all like to ask Tyler? I went with Lexi because you were probably the contact person.
Like, I can't even remember anything now.
Although I also feel like it's probably very fitting of like, stop me if this doesn't sound right, but I can kind of feel the vibe of like Cyrus hovering over Lexi, making sure that like the correct things were written into the text message.
Yes. That would have definitely happened.
Yeah.
Also keeping Oric away so he doesn't ask about
Snow globes or anything else that doesn't matter.
what's her face?
Maine. Oh,
Oh, Lady
Oh.
Marta.
Lady Marta.
Lady Marta. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think to start off, Cyrus would wonder if they recognize the description, if anybody like that came and fought here.
Banner and Tyler both immediately recognized who you're talking about. They're like, oh yeah, yeah, he shows up. I don't know, maybe like once or twice a month. He doesn't even. It doesn't even seem like the prizes matter to him. I'm gonna turn off my background for a second so you can see my dog lounging in the background. Oh, I'm right in the way.
Very nice.
But anywho, yeah, he doesn't even seem. It doesn't even seem like he cares about the prizes, but also he never seems to lose, not in a while at least.
Does he talk to anybody? Ever show up with anybody? Any way of getting a hold of him?
they kind of look at each other for a second, and Banner says, no, he's never given us any information. And Tyler looks at him confused. He's like, no, we had it in the... And then Banner repeats, he's never given us any information.
Does this seem at all similar to when Lady Bryn couldn't remember?
Won't even make you roll for it. Almost exactly.
Okay.
When Lady Bryn couldn't remember, didn't we like find a magical knot in her memory or something?
Yeah, you were able to basically like poke her brain and unlock some of those memories.
May I try that here?
Yeah, see, Banner kind of goes a little distant and vacant the same way she did. And so you're able to kind of talk about this with Tyler, like, while looking right at him, and Banner doesn't try to stop you or respond. And Tyler says, yeah, this is weird. If you can make it not like this, that would be awesome.
I'm gonna try.
All right. Just give me an Arcana. No, I'll say roll a spell attack.
Spell attack.
Yeah, like if you were to cast Firebolt.
All right. $14.
That's all you needed.
Perfect.
Bryn had a lot more tangled up in this. There was the knot had not just memory, but thoughts and feelings and a greater sense of connection. By comparison, the sort of tangle in Banner's mind is very surface. Bryn's knot is some complicated, ridiculous, like sailing knot, and Banner's is like, shoelaces. You're easily able to just kind of, and it, all of that memory sort of rushes back, and he just sort of shakes his head a little. What were we talking about?
Fighter that's come in here a few times.
Oh, my head hurts. Yeah, we had paperwork for him. What was the name? And Tyler says, actually, it was kind of weird. He didn't always use the same name. We don't exactly do like, tax reporting on winnings. So we don't always have all of the information you might have. But we try to have some. He registered as Roland. But I don't know. It was like he... I don't really know how to describe it. It was like he would start to sign one way and then change his mind. but also a lot of times it was like not legible at all. I don't know what he wrote. It was just all these weird like symbols and stuff.
You don't happen to have one of those signatures handy, do you?
Tyler, so they don't have it because their records shot into the void.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What we are going to do is we're going to give Tyler an intelligence check.
Good luck.
Oh, it's
Yeah, I mean he's got a +1. He's not. It's
Better than
it's the
above.
9 wisdom that really sort of the 18 strength and 9 wisdom is the curve that helps explain Tyler's life. All right, so he's going to roll a d20 +1. He got a 17.
all right.
Okay.
Not too shabby.
So he doesn't have perfect recall, but he manages to write enough. And he shows you kind of like what it looked like in that intermediate step. And so you see sort of in modern common, like R-O-ish, and then it's like someone has layered like Sylvan runes over the top. And they're a little weird. Obviously, he doesn't remember them perfectly, but enough that you recognize the language.
So half common, half Sylvan. But it still says Roland the whole way.
Tyler doesn't know Sylvan, and he doesn't recognize, like, he doesn't have it memorized well enough to reproduce it perfectly.
Got it.
Tyler knows, like, 8 languages, but they're all human languages. Well, I say 8 languages. He knows parts of, like, 8 languages. Tyler is fluent in getting drunk / in trouble in 8 different languages.
Yes.
But if he had to, like, say something you would say while sober, he probably couldn't.
So I'm assuming Fight Night is canceled here while they're rebuilding, right?
Yes, it is on hold for now.
Okay.
They should be back up and running relatively soon, but it's probably still like a month or more out.
Are there any, do they know of any others in the city? Like, do they know, like, does he like make the rounds? Or is this one kind of it?
Let's. I'm gonna keep making intelligence checks and see what he knows. He got a 2 on the die. So this is still Tyler's area of expertise. So he can tell you like exhaustively. He knows like every other fight club in the city, and can kind of give you the flavor of the experience. Like Banner and Norton's is violent, but it's almost sort of a video gamey violence of like people get healed up afterwards. People don't have like lasting injuries. There are some very, very dangerous fight clubs that basically fight to the point of maiming. There are some that fight to the point of death. Not a lot. Those are like deep, deep underground. He has no idea if this Roland shows up at any of those other places. He does say with truly without like a trace of conceit that Banner and Norton's is the best. Like it's just a fact. It's not. So you have a name and a description. You have a strange layered signature of Common and Sylvan. You do know that there are other fight clubs out there at which this person might be appearing. But with a name and description, you might also be able to track other leads as well. But that's not to say that they don't know anything else that's useful. But with the 2 on the die, Tyler doesn't know what's useful. So you'll have to ask good questions.
Oh dear.
Did he come
Do you
to
remember how he fights? Like what it's like?
Tyler proceeds to tell you way too much about this. This is like one of Tyler's favorite things. This
Absolutely.
is basically the reason why he does this.
Getting a play-by-play here.
Yeah. Always unarmed. Seems to be a fist fighter. And early on, when he was still losing some matches, Tyler would have pegged him as maybe like a low-grade hero light user. Someone who I don't even know if Tyler knows the word for that. But his description, you registered as that. But and the only reason he thought that is that at low levels it's hard to see. It's just someone who is sort of unnaturally tough and strong and fast. But as the guy got stronger and started winning consistently, it got stranger. Sometimes he would land like a really, really good hit, and there would be like a clap of thunder, and he would like blast someone back. And he would use hits like that to drop like big, tough fighters. Let's also. We're going to have Tyler make another check, which he's better at. Or I'll let one of you roll it. Somebody roll. Since you asked, Cyrus, roll a d20 plus 6. This is a perception check for Tyler. Retroactive. All right.
30-20.
Tyler seems confused as he relates this next part. When this guy started fighting, I'd have thought he was in like his like mid 50s maybe. What's the phrase they use? Well preserved. Spry might be another phrase. Someone who is right on the line of probably shouldn't be doing stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I swear, every time I saw him, he looked younger. I think the last time I saw him, he probably looked about my age.
Hmm. Okay. As you fight, I mean, I'm assuming too, like he's more like Tyler. He's fairly agile rather than like a Banner style bruiser.
Uh, some of both, actually.
Okay.
Um, it seemed like he could sort of flicker and be where he needed to be in a fight. Um, but also, he hit like a truck.
Hmm. So I'm guessing since he wasn't there when we came to a fight night, that he didn't come every fight. Did he have a regular schedule?
No, if anything, it was kind of random.
Hmm.
It was almost like he would just sort of. We never found any logic to it. He would just appear sometimes. Sometimes he'd come 2 nights in a row. Sometimes he'd come one night and fight multiple times. And then we wouldn't see him for 3 weeks or a month. Uh, Sometimes he'd be back in 3 days.
Hmm. Hmm. The only other question I can think of is which of the other fight locations Tyler thinks is the most likely one for us to find him at.
Like if Banner and Norton's is first, who's second?
Yeah.
Hmm. It's an excellent question. I will lock in a name later because I want to have another good name for this. He gives you the name of another club. Um, it's a little bit more violent. He kind of gives you a heads up. Um, Banner and Norton's kind of makes their reputation on um, having some of the like strongest, most skilled fighters. Uh, this other place, they're strong, but it's definitely designed more towards being gratuitously violent. Is sort of the atmosphere. Um, a lot of the King's Guard like to fight there.
Want to give it a shot?
Nice one.
Trying to think of the best. Trying to think of how I want to phrase this, but I think Cyrus would get like if Tyler remembers, like if the guy seems like he's like enjoying it. Like, is he fighting just to fight? Is fighting fun? Does he enjoy winning? Kind of some of that. If he remembers anything about kind of his mentality or kind of how he carried himself.
Go ahead and give me another D20 plus 6. This is an insight check.
'23.
Tyler and Banner both kind of look at each other and they say, Tyler says, I don't think he likes it. I don't quite know how to put it. It's like he was working something out there. Like when he was fighting, he wasn't fighting the person in front of him. He was fighting something else. But it was like it was something he had to do.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You having any thoughts there, Cyrus?
Nope.
Okay.
More just trying to get in the insight. Like, know what the person is like before we confront them.
Right.
Right,
Getting
yeah.
inside his head. Got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. If he was somebody who like took a sadistic enjoyment out of pain, I wanted to know that going in.
Fair.
But I don't really know of any other way to track him down from any of that.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any other questions for Banner, Norton, Maine, Charles?
None that I can think of.
Can't think of any.
Find out how Tyler's love life is going.
Good. I don't want to know. Lexi's like, don't tell me. I'll be out in the car.
She hasn't called, man. She hasn't called. What did I do wrong?
Wait, Tyler or Banner?
Wasn't it Tyler who was trying to flirt with Lady Marshall?
No, it was definitely Banner.
Oh, it was
It's
Banner?
Banner.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, she like knocked his block off and he was like, I'm in love.
Right.
That I'm more interested in hearing about. Tyler's love life. No. Lexi's like, no.
See, I
thank
can't
you.
decide. Tyler, if we play to type,
Yeah.
Tyler would be like sort of a scoundrel. Maybe not scoundrel's a strong word. A rapscallion.
Yeah.
Playing it sort of fast and loose. Emphasis anyway.
Yeah.
But it would also be really funny if Tyler was like a very like sentimental like anyway, we'll delve more into his love life in the future.
He's definitely an oversharer.
That
And
tracks.
Lexi has seen more of his body than she ever wanted or needed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does definitely feel like the gradient of Tyler drunkenness would definitely be tracked by like how many articles of clothing he still has on and
Yes.
how much he wants to fight people.
Yes.
And so it's like as drunkenness goes up, clothing goes down, and fighting goes way up.
Yeah.
It hits a very bad apex, which is part of how he has ended up with some misdemeanors.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So where would you like to go next?
Do you want to try the other Fight Club?
Maybe. I'm a little worried if it's popular with Kingsguard. I feel like
Might run into some
A,
people
I
we
don't
don't
want
wanna
to
run
get
into.
into a fight, and B, there might be some people who would recognize us.
Point.
Yeah. A little dangerous there.
Because it was Kingsguard who was tracking us outside the palace, right?
I think, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
Now, I will say the impression you did get is that it seemed like they took specific note of Auric, but
Yep.
you're not sure if it's because Auric, like they've recognized him, or if it was because, just because he was a
Very
Fey,
obvious Fey.
yeah, a Fey person being very loud in a iconographically important location to the Kingsguard.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of anybody else. Because it seems unlikely this guy probably has much of a tech footprint. So
Mm-hmm.
I doubt we could track him that way.
I mean, we've got multiple visual descriptions of him, but I don't know if Cyrus is able to use that to search for him.
To use what?
How good is our just like running a physical description through the NBI to find somebody?
Yeah.
I mean, it would definitely help you narrow it down, especially with coupled with a first name.
Yeah.
True.
Mm.
So sure, let's try that first before hitting another fight club.
Okay.
All right. In that case, give me a technology check with advantage. And I will actually look and see what you get. Nice. With a 24.
Nice.
Roland is not a super common name to begin with. So once you start kind of tweaking parameters, this person was described as being kind of older, gray, sort of longish hair. Um, Trying to do mental math. Gonna do an experiment real quick. Oops. Super unhelpful. Anywho, um, it does narrow it down. Let's roll. Roll 3d8.
3d8.
Yep. You get 14 matches across that criteria,
Eight.
which,
I was thinking, I bet I want to roll low.
yep. So it's not an impossible number of people to check out. I mean, Queensboro is massive. We've said before that it's meant to be in sort of that category of like elements of like New York, London, Chicago, very large area. But men within a certain age range, with a certain hair color and style, and a first name, really trims the list down pretty far. The only downside is now you have a list of 14 people who all match the description you have so far. Is there anything you would look for to help narrow that further?
Steady employment. This guy seems like he's a wanderer.
Hmm.
So,
I was also wondering about how long they've been in the city.
Yeah.
so you're looking with an eye towards more recent?
Yep.
I think maybe what I'll do is you all throw out questions, and as questions lead you closer or further away, I will mentally adjust the DC of tracking down the person you're looking for.
Okay.
Fair.
So, employment history, length of residency, with an emphasis towards longer, towards shorter.
Yeah.
Hmm. What do we remember from Lady Bryn's memory? Hmm.
Let's see. All I have written down is who else was there.
Right.
feel like checking for any. If this person can make people forget things, probably checking for misdemeanors is a waste of time.
Yeah. Well, actually, it might go the other way. If he's able to make people forget things, then a smaller record would be preferable.
So small or no criminal record.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or I guess could we try like connections? You think connections to the district Banner and Norton's is in is useful, or if it's the top rated one in the city, people are going to come there from wherever.
Do we know the physical location of where the encounter happened in Lady Bryn's memory?
Yes. But I did not have the districts named then. So, 1 second. I think it would have been in Vert.
And how's that
So,
located compared to Banner's?
Banner and Norton is not on my location list, but logically is probably in Falmouth. So it's in the same area as like Lou's and Oryx's apartment. It's kind of it's the part of town where you would go to look for a fight club.
Well, of course, like you said, he might have, if it's the best in town, he might have traveled for it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And for Lady Bryn's memory, if he's out looking for someone, specific someone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think maybe stick with what we've got.
All right. So that was little to no criminal record. And then recent in the city. And what else?
What was the other one? There was one more.
Employment.
Oh,
Employment.
people without steady employment.
Yeah.
All right. Let me think how to do this. My brain is trying to generate like Blades in the Dark math right now, and it's like, no, we're not doing D6s. Okay. So someone roll an investigation check with advantage.
that's a +1 for me. So
Yeah, it's my specialty.
Investigation with advantage. I have +3. What do you have?
9.
Yeah.
$24.
All right. So, using the criteria that you have so far, see if there's a last name here. Real quick. Oof, why that? So it takes you a while. Of course, that's a made-up word. You have to sift through basically all of these names. You're comparing the employment records and the criminal records, looking at residency and addresses, sort of tracking all of these things over time. And at first, you come up with nothing. No one matches all of your criteria. There are some folks who have no record, but they've been in the city for a long time. There are some folks who have an elaborate criminal record, but have only been in the city for like a year. You find people in varying states of employment. And so, after some confusion and some frustration, you're able to sort of look back through your criteria, and you're looking at them, and the criminal record thing makes sense. If for no other reason than this seems like someone who doesn't get into the kind of trouble that gets caught by police. The employment thing makes sense. This seems like someone who probably is not in a position to hold down a normal job right now. But the residency, you keep coming back to this one. It could be someone new, but that's not necessarily what you know about them. The more you think about it, this is someone who is going through some kind of change, which might not necessarily mean that they came to town and immediately started causing problems. It might mean that they've been here a long time and only recently started experiencing this. When you reframe it, it suddenly narrows down, and you have a face. It's a local ID. It's not a driver's license. Looks like one of the many people who like live in town and just take public transit everywhere. Looks like an older guy. The documentation actually says that they're 55. And what makes you come back around to it is that the address is smack dab in the middle of Little Sylvain. And I'm going to hold the last name and decide if I'm going to change it. It was never spoken during the one shot, And I feel like they just got it off the auto generator, and it's not a name I want to have to repeat over and over and over.
Man.
It's not like inappropriate. It's just like not a word.
Isn't Little Sylvain where all the Fae are moving to?
Yep.
Yeah. Huh. This guy's human, right?
Good question.
As best you can tell. I'm going to go with the name is Roland Ulbrich.
Roland Ulrich. Well, we have an address. Do we want to go pay him a visit?
Yeah.
All right. So we'll say that this isn't like an overnight thing, because you have to sort of access resources and sort of go back and forth. This process of figuring out like what criteria to change, all of that, like that takes a while. So I'll let you all decide what time of day would you like to go to Little Sylvain.
It's not nice to go calling outside of business hours.
Like early afternoonish.
Yeah.
Don't wake up somebody. Don't wake somebody up too early, but want to try to catch them before they're making their way out to a fight club.
Right. And if he's out all night at the fight clubs, then any time in the morning might be too early.
Yeah.
All right. So you all make your way over there. Your first visit to Little Sylvain. Somehow you all have never gone here. I don't know how that is possible in this whole campaign about like fairies living in a human city. You have never gone to the place where the fairies live in the human city.
That's
Yeah.
what Gimbal was for.
This is true. And Gimbal does have like an office near here.
Of course.
This would be sort of the part of town that he frequents. So you make your way to Little Sylvain. So Little Sylvain used to just be a part of Vert. A part that was just sort of unspectacular. It was just another sort of poorer part of the town where a lot of like working class folks live. A lot of times it's places where like first generation immigrants to the city would come live. So in addition to all these sort of Vert also has within like a couple of blocks of each other a Morden neighborhood and a Kala neighborhood and a Tress neighborhood, just from sort of natural clustering of people. But Little Sylvain has quickly sort of carved out its own niche. There's not really, it doesn't seem to be any like unusual circumstance. The Fae that came to town who were not, you know, Lord Llewellyn or Lady Bren or even Leon, who are all kind of in the elite ambassadorial class. They have places to stay that are in Riverside and Old Imperial. For other Fae that came to town, they had to live somewhere, didn't have a lot of resources, so they ended up kind of banding together in this corner of Vert. And especially early on, a lot of people were very trepidatious of having Fae neighbors. It actually took a while before it was even sort of allowed. It was several years before like permanent residency was a thing. But slowly it's sort of expanded and taken over maybe just a couple of blocks, really dense blocks with like big apartment buildings, little corner stores and laundromats. But you can tell as soon as you get close because there don't seem to be rings of seeming in use in Little Sylvain, not in a widespread way. And so while you all know that you pass trolls and pixies and nymphs and sort of sylvan middle management fae walking through the street, most people don't know that. They see the illusion and that's what they know. But here, people are sort of fae are sort of being themselves. There's just sort of a riot of color. There's also more magic being used. In some ways, it puts you all in mind a little bit of the Blackthorn Academy. This is a place where people live who use magic as easily as they breathe. There's a different quality to it here. This magic has more illusion, more enchantment, more charm. And it's something that they do very naturally. And so you just see someone like, a little gnomish man sort of sits down on a stoop and pulls out a cigar and just kind of like makes a little motion with his thumb, and a little fairy fire flicker appears in a weird color, and he lights his cigar and just kind of sits there and when he blows smoke, it like spirals and winds and like does weird, impossible things. But he doesn't even notice because that's just kind of how that works. There seems to be a lot of life centered around a corner convenience store. It's the same sort of chain that you see all over town, but you can see that this one has been tweaked a little bit. Or you would find yourself surprised to see some products that are from Fairy in the store. There are like some stands and sort of extra shelving that's been attached to the outside of the building, selling like unusual food items, some really, 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 really low grade magical components. Everybody give me a perception check.
Woo, +0.
22.
Oh, yeah,
18.
14. That's not bad.
So a question first. Auric, human or dragonborn?
Dragonborn.
All right. So the first thing you notice is there are, not the first thing, but with closer attention, there is some damage. You see what looks like sort of low-grade vandalism. There's some very hateful graffiti in places nearby. Lexi with a 22, you see that mixed in with the graffiti are some Kingsguard symbols. You spot that crown and feather emblem. You can also see there are places where it looks like maybe there was briefly fire that didn't really catch, but like scorched like brick and concrete. You see some windows that have been sort of boarded up, not because they are abandoned, but to stop them from being broken. As you all approach, people, what looked like kind of natural, just sort of milling around, there's almost like an immediate sort of snap of attention. And a handful of folks are watching you all very closely. But when they see Auric, they kind of chill a little bit. What do y'all want to do?
I think as we pass by, I'm gonna occasionally cast Prestidigitation to just clean some of the graffiti off.
Yeah, most of it just sort of scours pretty easy. You sort of literally cut a swath through it, revealing relatively clean brick and concrete underneath.
Yay. I can use the same spell to make a color, small mark, or symbol appear on the surface of an object for an hour. So I put a smiley face in its place.
Yeah.
I immediately imagine that it's like a smiling dragonborn face.
Yes. Just any non-fairies is incredibly intimidating.
So as you all draw near, there is a moment of tension, but then the folks recognize Auric. They kind of calm down a little, and we're going to kind of zoom out here. We'll continue with this next week, week after next, because someone's got trick or treating to do. But zooming out, we do one of those sort of pop up and pop down transitions. Like we've popped up on the map, we're up to our sort of Google Earth view, and then we zoom back down on a neighborhood, maybe only like 4 or 5 blocks away. It is a back room of the room is dimly lit. There's like a high upper window where the afternoon sun is barely like sneaking past a barrier of dust. And the room is weirdly empty. It's carpeted, there's one table, and it just seems like a strange use of space. And then there's a flicker. And the air in the center of the room sort of bends and distorts and then cracks. And if you were standing there in the room, there would be a brief moment of like glorious warm wind and golden light and the smell of pine and flowers and sweetness all kind of blows into the room for a second. And at the edges, it's almost visible in the air, like a gold touched swirling as it kicks up some of the dust on the carpet. And the air cracks, and oops, there we go. Through this distortion in the air steps a young woman. She looks like she's maybe 15 or 16. And most folks, when they pass through such a portal, are sort of disoriented. She steps through with sort of alertness and focus. She steps into the room, immediately kind of like looks around. There is a note on the table. She picks it up and reads it, nods, and then flicks it up into the air, and it just sort of it doesn't burn so much as it just disintegrates. And she pulls a hood over her golden hair and her pointed ears. And as she pulls the hood up, she completely disappears. And she opens a door, walks invisibly down an aisle and out the shop, heralded only by a single ding as she passes out the door. And that's where we'll come back to next week. So I'm going to go ahead and stop our recording.
Recording stopped.
And I'm going to kill the stream. Bye, Internet.